Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Today is Monday, June 27th, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, we begin today's show with developing news as a Russian court has set July 1st as the start date for the trial of Brittney Griner, as the WNBA star has been jailed in Russia for more than 4 months. Meanwhile, from the president to Nancy Pelosi to the governor of California, Democrats all over the U.S. are fighting for a women's right to choose. We're going to have more on that story. Then a black former Minneapolis police officer who shot and killed an unarmed white woman is scheduled to be released from prison today. We have that story.
Plus, the BET Awards was a night of black excellence. And in case you missed it, we have a rundown of the night's top moments. And Wayne Brady talks about a missed opportunity with Jamie Foxx. We have all that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth. So let's get it.
We're learning new details about Brittney Griner. A Russian court has set July 1st as a start date for her trial. Griner has been jailed in Russia for more than 4 months. She was arrested at an airport for her luggage containing cannabis oil, where they found that inside of her luggage. She now faces 10 years in prison if convicted. The U.S. State Department says Griner is being wrongfully detained, and they are working on bringing her home. You know what? This was very interesting because I think that we were expecting July 2nd. We were expecting to hear from Brittney, from her court, from what was going on with her on July 2nd. They've now scheduled that to Friday, which is a week from...
It's this Friday, yeah.
Next Friday, July 1st.
This Friday,
right.
Yeah.
So they also ruled her detention could be extended 6 months pending the trial. So her lawyer expects the trial to take about 2 months, he says, depending on his caseload. So I don't know what that means. I feel like the State Department is saying they're still working on it. She's being wrongfully detained. But here we are with a trial that's coming up that could take up to 6 months. Mm-hmm. It is this Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You know, like you said, this Friday. And so this Friday is right around the corner. But what the fear that I have and a lot of people have right now in America is that the date keeps getting pushed further back. We've seen this before. This is not the first time that a major trial has been pushed back before. So this is standard protocol. There are certain things that need to be set up in place. But it's just also because it's in Russia, not in the U.S. We can't just call and get an update. And then you have problems with communication and things like that. This being in Russia is what makes a lot of people fearful. Is this going to be the last day that it's moved back? And then also the amount of time that she could spend in jail is so shocking and so scary for something of this magnitude.
10 years.
10 years that, you know, it makes you really wonder, does the crime match what she's in jail for?
The time, yeah.
Exactly.
That she could possibly get.
Mm-hmm.
What I took from this seeing her was she looked healthy, right? It was good to see her walking, good to see her, you know, walking into the courtroom. But mentally, we don't know what she's been through. And that's a problem. That's something we're concerned about. She's been away from her home. We don't know how they're really treating her behind those walls. So we can only hope that this trial can finally get started and we can get her home sooner than later. I know in Russia, they're in war right now with Ukraine. This is not a top thing on their list, but for us Americans back home, it definitely is.
Yeah, her wife says she spoke to Anthony Blinken last week. But though she says she has zero trust in the government because they missed that phone call.
Yeah.
And so she's really calling on them to figure out what's going on and hopefully bring Brittney home as soon as possible.
And everyone in the world, of course, is
Absolutely.
joining in as well. From President Biden to Nancy Pelosi to the California governor, Gavin Newsom, Democrats all around the United States say they are going to fight for a woman's right to choose. Some say they will even help women travel from states, banning the procedure to places that protect a woman's right to choose. They say they will also shield medical professionals from being pursued by states where the procedure is being outlawed. Vice President Kamala Harris says Friday's decision by the justices is unprecedented.
This is the first time in the history of our nation that a constitutional right has been taken from the people of America.
Governor Gavin Newsom from Washington State, Oregon, they all announced a joint multi-state commitment to work together to defend patients and caregivers from prosecution. This is actually very, not shocking, this is a groundbreaking. To know that, one, being here in California, I was really happy to, when we first started talking about this, just going back, thinking about Texas, right? And Texas and Florida, two places where I was just like, whoa, I'm just so glad that I don't live there, because it's just so shocking that the way the people have to be treated there. I was so happy to hear that Governor Gavin Newsom, our President Nancy Pelosi, all standing firm with women, giving them the own opportunity to choose what they want to do to our bodies. And I really feel bad for those who do not live in states like California, where you have a government, you have leaders who care about our bodies as women.
So for me, I don't know. VP Harris said it's the first time in history that America has taken a constitutional right from America.
Not true.
But whether it's true or not, I don't think it'll be the last, because what are we doing to fight back? Like, what's the plan? We need a plan. I feel like we are coming out and we're talking and we're saying we're going to pay for your access. We're going to help you, get to this state, to that state. But how are we going to fight this? What is the plan? And what specifically? What we Democrats say to vote. Okay, we need to vote, but where and what states? What should we be paying attention to? What do we need to? What grassroots organization do we need to support to make sure that the right message is getting out, so that we can combat this problem? We're always talking, but what are we doing? Republicans always have a plan. You think when Obama was president and Mitch McConnell didn't let him seat a Supreme Court justice, that they didn't have a plan in place? They do. We are reacting all the time. What is the plan? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Robbie.
We have to get ahead of that. You're right, because it's almost like playing a sport. If you know you can only run the ball a certain way, which is kind of like what we're saying in this situation. All right, so there are states where you cannot have abortions. Now the phone lines are blowing up in those states where you can, right? We're talking about how we have companies that are willing to help their employees get there. Well, they're already thinking about how they can interfere with that, because they know that's our only plan right now to do that. I do applaud people in California that was protesting this past weekend out in the streets and across the country. We're out there, we're protesting, but like Mimi said, what is the master plan?
But let me ask you guys, is it not a plan? When you think about a woman who's trying to have an abortion, a birth is, when you're pregnant, is 9 months, right? A person is not trying to think about the plan years. You're trying to figure out how are you going to get this figured out right now. And so I think that it is a plan for states to say, hey, you know what? Hey, if you can't get an abortion in your state, let's get you here because you're pregnant right now. Let me get this taken care of for you.
But they're already trying to figure out how they can intercept that now. So what's our next plan?
But I'm talking about Biden. I'm talking about the administration. What is their plan? Because we need a plan. I hear what you're saying, right? So the plan is let it fall back to the states and let the states help you out. But overall, Democrats, we need a plan, because the Republicans, this isn't going to be the first thing that they're going to try and take from us. So what's the plan? What are we going to do?
The plan is that this is not a top priority for the president and for the government right now. So their plan is to, hey, we're going to let these individual states figure it out. I don't think that this is a top priority. We're talking about all the things that we have on Joe Biden's plate right now. We're talking about the war in Ukraine. We're talking about student loans. We're talking about so many things that I just don't think, sadly, it should be at the top, but I just don't think that they're making this a priority.
Who sits on the Supreme Court, and how the Supreme Court is judging for the majority when they are making rules that the minority like? That should be a definite plan that he needs to look into, right? Because 6-3, they continue to make rules for everyone when not everyone voted for them, right?
Agreed.
We can go down that line in a little bit.
Yeah, and I would say that this in closing, like you think about, I talk to people that's out there knowing about the midterms coming up or the next election. They're like, look, man, I'm a heavy Democrat, but I feel like they keep dropping the ball. But do I vote Republican? Because you see what they're doing right now to our people and to people of color. So a lot of people are very torn and confused right now, hoping it doesn't discourage them from going out for midterms. That's the problem, but we'll keep you posted on that. All right, the sheriff in Madison, Wisconsin says he does not have the resources to investigate medical professionals after the Supreme Court's ruling overrunning Roe v. Wade. Wisconsin has a law against abortions that dates back to 1849. Dane County Sheriff Calvin Barrett says his department's concern is deterring and solving crimes in his community. Barrett is the county's first African-American sheriff. Madison's mayor and the state's attorney general say they back Barrett's decision.
As we continue to cover the fallout from the Supreme Court's decision on abortion rights, thousands took to the street all over the country this weekend to protest the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. 13 states have trigger laws that will go into effect as a result of the ruling. Well, many are saying at this point it seems like an AR-15 has more rights than a woman does. So the question is, where does America go from here? Joining us today is Rina Shah. She's a Republican strategist and a mother of two. She's also the Chief Executive Officer of Relax Strategies. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Mimi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right in. I've always said the court has not ended abortion, but they have cut off the path to safe and legal abortion. So what does this mean for low-income women, Black and brown women who live in Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, who now have their access cut off?
Well, the Supreme Court's decision was stunning to so many, including many Republicans like me who have been in politics for a long time. I must add that I have been, though a lifelong registered Republican, I have been pro-choice. And that's important to note because I think there are a great many women out there who still are registered Republican and maybe anti-abortion for themselves, but pro-choice for other women. My entire sort of outlook on this whole subject has been that freedom, body autonomy, liberty starts with the individual. And I thought that's what the Republican Party was about. And it was like that for many years. This decision has shown that this Republican Party is giving in to a religious faction that has fought very, very hard to criminalize abortion. So when we're talking about who's hurt most by this decision, it is lower income American women. It is Black and brown women in communities in which access to safe abortion is not already that accessible. So what we really need to do now is promote people taking the initiative to learn what their rights are, where they live. Political strategists like me have said it for a long, long time, but now the unthinkable happened for those, again, of us who were pro-choice and want body autonomy to be central. Because I've started to see this, Mimi, through the lens of democracy. And I think that's really important because if women do not have full political, legal, and economic rights even, are they even full citizens in our nation? The answer is no. And so when body autonomy is taken like this, I think the door is open to a number of other rights being taken from us.
Yep, absolutely. Saturday you tweeted the court's decision wasn't about politics and that Roe v. Wade must be codified by Congress. Can you explain what you meant by that tweet, Rina?
Sure. And look, Twitter only gives so many characters and there's nuance everywhere. This is not a black and white issue. This is an issue with lots of gray areas. When I said this isn't about politics, I meant that we have the potential here to transcend typical political lines and divides. Like I just mentioned, I was a staffer on Capitol Hill for many years for two social conservatives. Now, look, I enjoyed my time on Capitol Hill. I learned a great deal. I never thought, and I'm a millennial woman, I'm born after 1981. I never thought Roe would be overturned in my lifetime. And those members of Congress I worked for also didn't think it. But when it came time for President Trump to run, and even though evangelicals did not like him very much, they still sort of, clenched their teeth and sort of pinched their nose and said, we're going to vote for him anyway, because they wanted the justices. They wanted conservative justices who would do this. They got it. Never Trumpers like me, we warned about this, that this was possible. Again, in my time on Capitol Hill, I know there were many Republican staffers who felt the same way as me, is that, look, we're anti-abortion for ourselves, but we're pro-choice for other women because it's about privacy, it's about freedom, and it's about liberty. So when I say the politics, it isn't about that. I mean that we can move forward and build bridges and have coalitions where we bring people together and we push back on this sort of tyranny. That what the Supreme Court has said, basically, Mimi, this is really important here, is that we're tossing this back to the states because we feel that the state should be able to tell you what to do with your body if you are in a situation where you need an abortion. And that makes me very, very scared for the future of myself and my daughters.
You touched on a bunch of things, Rina. I don't even know where to start, but let me just say, it's no one's business why people get abortions. But, I think that you have to really have the belief, it's no one's business why people get abortions, but there's this belief, I guess, on the Republican side that women who do get them are just sleeping around or too worried about their career, so they're having abortions every other month. We know that's not the case. But as far to your knowledge, what are some of the reasons that women get abortions?
You know, Mimi, this is a tough topic for so many people to talk about. But I want to mention that I was on Capitol Hill's senior aide to a Republican member of Congress when the Affordable Care Act passed. And central to the Republicans' argument was privacy, that the decisions between you and your doctor should be left there in the exam room. And right now, what we know, look, I've studied public health at the graduate level. I'm married to a physician. I'm the daughter of one, and I'm the sister of one. And in my household, I've known for years that all this is going to do, overturning this decision, overturning Roe, is going to increase the number of unsafe and non-sterile abortions. That is something nobody wants. People get abortions for various reasons. In fact, miscarriages are classified as spontaneous abortions. It's something like an ectopic pregnancy, which a lot of people have heard about. That's also considered abortion. So there are so many reasons that women need an abortion. And this is about our reproductive rights. What's happening in our body should be between ourself, the person that you have procreated with, who you're in that situation with, and your doctor. This is not about the state. It scares me that the state, based on where you live, can have a say in what you can do with your body. This is just unbelievable to me. And what I want to say to those of you who are listening who are scared, it's time to punish the politicians that do not represent your values. So if you're like me, that means that you vote straight Democrat ticket for the first time in your life. I did that in 2018 and again in 2020 because I wanted to punish those lawmakers that didn't represent my values, that were going with President Trump and his and policies of his that were like the Muslim ban. I didn't agree with that. So what did I do? I voted for people that represent my values. Now that may change in a future election, but that is what the ideal voter in a democracy does. Votes based on the issue, not along party lines. So wake up tomorrow and decide that you're going to take action to know about what your rights are, where you live, because that's what this decision did. It said where you live matters. That's what it all boils down to, Mimi.
Yeah, you are so right, Rina. You know, Justice Thomas says the landmark decision that established gay rights and contraceptive rights should be reconsidered now that the federal right to abortion is ended and shifted to the states. Do you think that the justices will open Pandora's box, reverse gay marriage, birth control? Is that where we are now?
Yes, we are there. Anything is possible. And that's what Justice Clarence Thomas did by sharing with us the opinion. And right there explicitly, he said, all of this is on the line. And this is emotional. This is hard because there was a lot of activism on the Republican side that basically got lucky. That activism was important, of course, to get to the Supreme Court and get those justices in that wanted to overturn Roe. But I wouldn't discount the Democrats. I wouldn't say the Democrats failed completely. I'm saying that the Democrats need to go for the jugular now that they know what the mission is of the Republicans. It's to take away more rights. That is tough. So that's why I called for codifying Roe. Congress has to act. And if there's anything to learn from this entire situation, it's that term limits also matter. I would like to see term limits on those of us serving us in Congress because they've been there for a long time and they're clenching power and they're not in touch with what basically all Americans want. Upwards of 60% of Americans did not want to see Roe overturned. 58% of U.S. women of reproductive age live in states that are hostile to abortion rights. Now, you tell me, those stats don't align with who's serving us in Congress and who's serving us in the Supreme Court. So we must act now that we know the playbook.
You know, and what you just said, a majority of Americans, they believe in a woman's right to choose, including 38% of Republican voters. So, why do you think, and Rina, we're running out of time, but this is such a great conversation, but why do you think they ignored the will of the people? We all watched them during the confirmation hearing say this was off the table, but now here we are. So at this point, what can be done, if anything?
Sadly, this goes right back to my politics. When Congressman Mike Pence was a congressman in the U.S. House of Representatives, I was a staffer there. And that was before he became governor of Indiana and, of course, the vice president. He was somebody that I saw in many of his voting patterns was legislating with his holy book. And I'm not a Christian person, but I did attend parochial school, I must add. I have love and respect for all faiths, but I believe in the separation of church and state. And it always worried me when I saw lawmakers legislating with their holy book. And I feel that that's what these Supreme Court justices did. They made a decision to overturn precedent, which they said in their confirmation hearings. Gorsuch and Kavanaugh explicitly said that they would not want to overturn precedent. And here we are in this era because they are legislating with their faith and personal beliefs. And that is wrong, in my opinion. We need to be an America for everyone. And that means respecting religious freedom. And that means freedom of religion in our halls of Congress, as well as the Supreme Court. So we need to get back on track, frankly. I think the only way to do it is to show people that this decision was not in line with what the Republican Party, whether you're talking about modern era or the Republican Party of years past, it doesn't align with the values that they told us they were about, which were privacy, liberty, and freedom.
So, Rina, last question. We have to leave it here. Republicans are expected to take the House in November, possibly the Senate. With this news, do you think that still may happen?
I think it's tough now. Of course, things have been pointing to what would be called a red wave this fall. And look, this is sort of historically in line with what we see. The party in power sort of gets a referendum. And there you see a boot given to an incumbent president, too, based on his performance. Inflation, that is an issue that is at top of everybody's minds. We're all feeling it every time we step out of our home. There's sticker shock, it seems, especially for young mothers like me. I'm now a mom of 3, actually. I just gave birth a couple months ago. Thank you. And so the baby formula shortage hit me too. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough for voters to get energized, but I really do hope this energizes the voter that says, no, I'm not going to let my individual rights and my freedoms be on the line any longer. So frankly, yeah, this ball is in the court of the Democrats, and I'd like to see them go for the jugular with messaging.
Absolutely. Rina Shah, Republican political advisor, thank you so much. We'll have to have you back. This was such a wonderful, spirited conversation, and we'll catch up with you in a few months and see where we are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful chat there, Mimi. Texas Senator John Cornyn is coming under fire for a tweet that appears to many to compare the court's decision overruling Roe v. Wade with 2 other landmark decisions. Cornyn responded to a tweet by former President Barack Obama that denounced the abortion decision. Cornyn's tweet said, now du Plessis versus Ferguson, Brown versus Board of Education. The 1954 Brown ruling partially overruled the 1896 Plessy decision, declaring that the separate but equal notion was unconstitutional for Americans on public schools and educational facilities. People online speculated that Cornyn was suggesting the Supreme Court reversed Brown versus the Board of Education. But a spokesperson for the senator says to look up his follow-up tweet, which says right there, thank goodness some SCOTUS precedents are overruled. This conversation, honestly, I've never lost a tweet so much. It took so many different ways. I mean, I couldn't even catch it. He tweeted it and it just grew legs of its own. So there are some people right now that are saying, hey, he didn't mean this. He has a law degree. He understands what happened here with Plessy versus Ferguson. He knows this. He's not saying this. And there are others that are saying, hey, look at what's going on with the right to have an abortion, how that's affecting disproportionately Black and brown women. Look at what Mary Miller said over the weekend about her saying white life. This helps white life. This is all not a mistake. And so with him, I don't think that this was a mistake. I don't think that any of this is a mistake. I think that the racism has always been deeply rooted. And then when you give someone a platform to, oops, my bad. Ooh, did I say that? It just comes on out. And I think that he tweeted this not realizing what he's an older gentleman. He probably didn't realize what he was saying. But now everybody's trying to cover it up. And it's just kind of like, I'm sorry, man, you said what you meant. And you meant what you said.
I mean, you said it all. That's exactly how I felt. I mean, listen, everybody's letting their racism flag fly high these days. So it's kind of easy to say, oops, I didn't mean it like that after you already pressed the send button on that tweet. And so I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Definitely.
And if he didn't mean it, the tweet would have been deleted. The tweet is still up there right now. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, in an effort to stop the violence across the country, lawmakers were able to pass gun control legislation. The president signed it on Saturday. The Safer Communities Act will make it harder for young people to buy guns, denies firearms to domestic abusers, and help officials temporarily take weapons from people deemed dangerous. This comes on the heels of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn New York's restrictive gun law, which now gives Americans the right to carry a concealed weapon in public.
And a bill is headed to the president's desk that will keep children nationwide fed. The Keep Kids Fed Act will help school districts extend food assistance waivers for its students. It would eliminate reduced price meals and allow qualifying students to get meals for free instead. It's a compromise after Congress failed to extend free meals for all students, which has been happening for the past 2 years.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is calling on calling on Stacey Abrams, to cut ties with an organization that is calling on police abolition departments around the country. Abrams serves on the Marguerite Casey Foundation. It's a grant-making group that supports causes like feminism and defunding the police. Now, Abrams' campaign for governor, it outlines a plan to create law enforcement accountability. But she also sent out a tweet last week. You can read it right there, Soulmates, saying that government officials must pay police officers more. That tweet sent Black Twitter into a complete frenzy. Now, one person wrote, how can Abrams address racial injustice if she plans on giving more money to an institution that profits from targeting and abusing people of color? Her plan seems more like a ploy to pander into conservatives in their plan of publicly supporting cops. And so this is a very interesting debate. Again, you have some people on one side that are like, I personally believe that Stacey Abrams is for the people. She's for the people. Yeah. She's for Black people. She's for the community. So anything Stacey Abrams is willing to fight for, I'm fighting with her. And so anything that Brian Kemp wants, I would fight totally against it. So whatever Stacey Abrams is going for, I believe that she's going to make the right decision for the Black community, as she always has.
I believe that too. I don't know what that tweet was about, but I do trust her judgment. And so therefore, Demi, I agree with you. Anything that Brian Kemp, he's already showed us who he is. And we've already seen who Stacey Abrams is. And so we can rest assured that she has a plan and whatever she's doing.
No, we definitely will see. All right, in other hotly contested Georgia primary race, a Democratic incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock he's in a tie with the GOP rival Herschel Walker. The two men who will square off in November both are at 46% with registered voters. The ECU poll shows a significant difference in how white and Black voters see the race. 83% of African-American voters support Warnock. He pulled in only 7% of the white vote. But Walker leads with white voters at 65%, only pulling in 29% of Black voters. That same poll gives Governor Brian Kemp a 5-point advantage over Stacey Abrams for all voters, 50 to 45%. It's early on, not that early, but still, I always feel like this number is going to rotate. It's going to go up and down. But what I hope it doesn't do is turn people away. I hope it motivates people to say, that's what's going on. Let me go ahead and talk to my neighbor, talk to my friends, those who want to do better and have better for their community and for the state, to get out, register, vote, and let's get this number up. But I think this poll is going to move around for the next couple months.
Yeah, polls definitely fluctuate, though. I want to know who this 29% of Black people, though, who said that they're voting for the man who says there's 52 states, Herschel. He said some questionable things, and so, it's very interesting that he has majority of the white vote, which is like we talk about here. We know that he's pandering to that base, so that's not surprising. But this 29%.
It's just like who are the people? You didn't poll every single person, every single Black person. So I don't like numbers. Sometimes numbers and graphs and scales. Accurate. It's never accurate. It's always going to make whoever the poll was for. Because someone could say, 70% of Black Americans love the Black Report, and if you ask 7 people, 75% of those people could say they love the Black Report. So it's just kind of like it's always going to go in favor of who the poll is for. So I'm not a fan
the
of
polls
numbers
are
like
always a little, they skew a little old.
Absolutely.
Because they're calling landlines and things like that. They've got to make a way to.
Those of us that are not, we see a number we don't know, we're not answering. So
all of that.
Yeah.
All of that. All right, a Black former Minneapolis police officer who shot and killed an unarmed white woman who called 911 back in 2017 is scheduled to be released from prison today. Muhammad Noor is being released months after his murder conviction was overturned. Now, Noor was sentenced on a lesser charge in the death of Justine Diamond husband, a 40-year-old who was engaged to be married. Diamond was shot by Noor in the alley behind her home after calling to report a possible sexual assault. Now, Noor was initially convicted of third-degree murder and manslaughter, but a judge threw out his 12-and-a-half-year sentence, saying the murder charge didn't apply to the circumstances in the case. He says he shot Diamond thinking that she had a weapon in her hand.
Another shocking story coming here, Soulmates. A Providence, Rhode Island police officer and state Senate candidate is on paid leave after video shows him punch his black female opponent in the face. The video shows Republican candidate Jean Lugo hitting Democratic, you can see right there, Soulmates, Jennifer Roque in the face, Soulmates, at a pro-choice rally. This is so shocking video. She showed the video on her Twitter page the next day, and Roque says that she has ringing in her ear currently. Her face is extremely tender, and Roque is a member of the Woman Project, a nonprofit reproductive rights group who has been protesting Friday's Supreme Court ruling on abortion. Lugo is a 3-year veteran of the Providence Police Department. At this time, Lugo has not been charged or arrested for his actions. He has, however, deleted his Twitter account. Someone who's like, you know what, I messed up a little bit. I'm going to delete my Twitter account, delete the tweet. People who actually feel like, you know what, I might have messed up here. But just to see this happen in 2022, people around the world, Romeo, you even said here in Los Angeles, around the nation, have been fighting for pro-choice. For someone to get assaulted in this way, and you're trying to run for a member of a leader of your community, how dare you?
Yeah, not to mention he's a police officer.
Yes.
So let's start there.
But that's where it starts, though, too.
Yeah,
the police officers and that power. It starts with that police
You just
officer.
wonder, you know, where his training is. And if he handled that situation like that, Lord only knows if it's a little bit more escalated what he probably would have done. So, man, a lot of work to do when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
All right, well, there's new evidence that shows a black man who was arrested by Nevada police pleading with cops, trying to tell them they arrested the wrong person. 25-year-old Shane Lee Brown, who is black, was locked up for 6 days on felony crimes that were allegedly committed by a much older white man with a similar name. The no bail warrant he was arrested for was supposed to be given to 51-year-old Shane Neal Brown. Brown's lawyers say the confusion happened after a traffic stop in January of 2020. Henderson cops reportedly searched his first and last name and found a Shane Brown who skipped court and had a warrant. The younger Brown didn't have his license on him when cops pulled him over. Video shows a younger Brown trying to convince cops he was the wrong guy. The black Shane has filed a lawsuit for $50,000 in damages for false imprisonment and other charges.